Hi, I'm Gavin Syme.
And I'm Vivian Corrigan, and welcome to Perthshire Online TV. So I believe you're taking this fitness thing to extreme and were at the Tug of War Championships last week.
That's not true, that's not true. That Perth grapevine, Perthshire rumours, that's not true at all. We were actually at the Tug of War Championships a week past at the weekend with the mics and camera only.
Right.
The mics and camera only. It was really a great event. It was well attended by lots of international competitors, and well done to the organisers for bringing such a great event through to Perth. I believe the next event is in 2 years' time, and it's over in Ireland. So that's something to look forward to if you fancy a trip to the Emerald Isle. So, do you know what's happening this week?
Indeed I do. It's International Women's Day this week on March the 8th. So we've decided to dedicate the show this week to women locally in Perthshire and Scotland.
And I chat with Perth and Kinross Council's Chief Executive Bernadette Malone. That was a really, really interesting interview. And we also talk with Jackie Waring, who has just recently is one of the co-founders of an organisation called Women's Enterprise Scotland. So it was good catching up with Jackie. We also chat with Suzanne Loftus, who amongst many things is actually a director of the Cutting Edge Theatre.
And we meet with Wilma McCulloch, who organises the event here locally, and we chat with Betty Souter, wife of Sir Brian Souter. So we have a real wide range of women highlighted on the show this week. So as they say, it's on with the show.
Welcome to this week's Perthshire Online TV News Round. Tayside Police have thanked the public for their efforts regarding the search for the murderer of local for TV pensioner Jenny Medvin. However, efforts still continue and the search efforts have been extended in and around the village with the aim of locating further information and potentially the murder weapon. Police would like to ask the public perhaps if they are out and about walking the dog, cycling or even exercising to look out for anything that might be out of place. It's possible you might even spot something that appears blood-stained. If you have any suspicions whatsoever, please call Tayside Police. Perth and Kinross Council's Trading Standards team is wanting local firms to be aware of a scam currently circulating around the area using unsolicited invoices for online advertising. A small number of businesses have already received the sham paperwork from a company called Slom Solution Limited with a PO box address in Croydon. The invoices claim the companies have taken an advert in a web-based directory and seek payment. Businesses or individuals with any concerns about the scam mailings can contact the Council's Trading Standards team for advice by calling 01738 476 476 or emailing es@pkc.gov.uk. Tea in the Park tickets went on sale at 9 AM on Wednesday the 29th of February, but the Trading Standards team warned people about buying tickets from fake websites. Trading Standards officers are asking people to take extra care to make sure they only buy from an official website. Fake websites are often promoted on social networking sites, creating a user group with a link to their site and post positive feedback about themselves on blogs, so be careful. And on a global note, the World Tug of War Championships were held at Bell Sports Centre just over a week ago. It was a busy event with 14 countries represented. The Scottish men's team achieved a gold medal and the 600 kg mixed final was a belter where Scotland picked up bronze, beating China 2-1. You know, I lived in South Africa for about 7 years and I live in Cape Town for about 4. I'm delighted we've got Lindy Buerta. Am I pronouncing that right,
yes,
Lindy?
That's right.
Listen, well done today. How do you like Perth?
It's wonderful. It's a beautiful place. Nice cool weather. So yeah, we're really enjoying it.
So what's a Cape Town girl like you doing in a Tug of War Championship?
Well, we were here to win. Unfortunately, we got a bronze yesterday in the 540 women, and today we weren't so lucky. But we'll come back even harder next time.
And you look fantastic. How's Cape Town doing these days?
Wonderful. We have nice summer weather, so it's totally opposite of what we have here.
Oh, completely. And I miss it dramatically.
I'm sure you do.
Listen, Lindsay, lovely to meet you.
Great.
Welcome to Perth. Hope to see you back again soon.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Fairways provide cost-effective HR support, from contracts to recruitment, health and safety to training. Fairways, working with you, for you. Visit fairways-uk.com or call Perth 632 561 for a free consultation.
I did it Fairways.
Now, as you know, International Women's Day is a global event, and of course to make up a global event it has to have people taking part in it from all over the world. And indeed there is a very active part of the International Women's Day movement here in Scotland, and they celebrate it every year. International Women's Day is on the 8th of March, but the local Scottish group actually celebrate it on the 10th. And I have one of the people from the International Women's Day here with me now, Wilma. How do you say your last name, by the way, Wilma?
It's McCulloch.
Thank you ever so much for that. Welcome to the studio, and thank you for giving us the time to talk about International Women's Day from a local perspective.
Yeah.
So it's something got quite a history, hasn't it, really?
It has. The International Women's Day event that happens in Perth has happened annually since 1997, and it's been organised by a voluntary group of women who meet regularly called the Be Yourself group.
Right.
And so this was really a group set up particularly for women to be themselves and do things that they want to do.
And you've been a part of it from the beginning, haven't you?
I've been a part of it from the very beginning, as have many of the other women that are part of the group as well.
How many women do you have in the group?
The organising group, the committee, the kind of steering group is around 20 women, and we meet on a Saturday morning regularly throughout the year.
And of course one of the major aims of the group is to bring together women locally of all ages.
All ages and all nationalities as well, and as many different types of people, interests and so on.
So how do you support women, and what do they get out of it?
Well, we hope that they get to try something new. We also hope that they get to meet other women and perhaps make friendships, and also that they learn things about the different opportunities that there are for women.
And of course, like so many different organisations of this type, there will be cases where you will actually bring in other people to talk to them about things that they can do. So kind of speakers that you have.
Absolutely. We've had a range of speakers throughout the years that open the event that we have annually, and these have been very interesting people. The lady who was the ran Perth prison, women that have reached high levels in their careers, women that have just done very interesting things that have widened horizons and so on, and travelled around the world and put a lot of their experiences into helping other people.
And I suppose the local group, just like the international group, one of the main reasons for it is to promote women, to encourage women to get the best out of their lives, and to encourage them to reach goals that they probably, in some cases, didn't think they could achieve.
Absolutely, and I think many of the women that have been coming to the event throughout the years will say that the coming just to the event and trying something new has meant that they've gone on and developed skills, or just as I say, met other people that they can go on and do things with.
Now, I know that there has been a little bit of a change in the way that this particular event is being organised this year. It's caused a little bit of controversy. So I suppose what you're really looking for as well from this is to find out what people think about the changes and how you can progress them in the future.
It's always been an all-day event, and it's been well attended by more than 200 women from across Perth and Kinross. So people have come in from outlying areas as well to the event. This year we're only a half-day event, and we think that might make a difference. We hope it won't. We hope that women will still come along and enjoy the half-day event, because we think they will still get just as much out of it. But we're also changing our venue. The venue that we have in the past is now not available to us, and so we're in a different venue. It's just as easy to access the venue, and it's on a good bus route and so on, but that maybe make it more difficult as well. These changes are just something that is worrying the group a little about. Okay. But this year, what we want to do, because we've had to make changes, is we want to consult with those attending to look to the future and see what else we can do, because we have to make changes anyway. Change is necessary.
Of course, yes. Of course, you're looking for new members all the time, I take it.
Yes.
How do they contact you?
We now have a website. One of our members has put together a website, so you can. That's where you would be best to get any kind of information that you need about the group.
Okay, we'll put the details on the screen.
On the day at the event, we always ask people to leave their contact numbers if they want to be contacted as part of the ongoing group.
Okay, we'll put the website details up on the screen for everybody.
Thank you.
But
That's great.
Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
It's Perth International Women's Day.
Okay.
I think
now
I'm just not so sure about
we'll put
that,
it,
but you can
we'll put it on the
check
screen
that
anyway,
out,
don't worry. So on the day itself, you've got all kinds of exciting events lined up for people. Again, we'll put the details on the screen of this. So what can they do on the day?
Well, one of the things that's really important is they sign up before the day, and they can do that by either picking up a brochure in one of the public libraries, community centres, etc. around Perth and Kinross. But this year we've also focused on putting up posters, giving the website, because you can also go online and register for the day, and it's really important to do that and to choose the workshop that you want to participate in. So unless you had card making at least amongst some of those, you've got a lot of things going, haven't you? What happens on the day is we all gather together, first of all, in the main room hall, where we have information stalls where people can try things, can find out different things, and that's also where our main consultation is going to go on as well. After that, we have a welcoming speech, and it's one of our own members that's doing that welcoming speech this year. Rona is doing the welcome, and Rona is a doctor of philosophy, and she works for Mitchell & Tyres in Dundee, which is quite interesting. So we're going to hear about her life experiences and so on. So we're looking forward to that. And then people should choose a workshop, and there are a range of different workshops. I don't know if you want me to say these at the moment, but maybe you can.
No, we'll put a graphic on, but you can tell us. It's fine.
Well,
refer to your notes. It's fine. It's okay. We're all friends.
We always try to do a kind of range of things: active things, therapies, and also crafts. So this year the active workshops are Zumba and hula hooping.
Oh, Zumba! Ooh.
Yes, these are some of the in things of the moment. The therapies, we have Reiki, relaxation for stress, aromatherapy, chiropractic and wellness clinic, reflexology, and we also have a range of other taster sessions. The craft workshops are jewellery making and card making, and we also have a creative writing workshop which has been very popular in the past.
Superb.
So that's the range of workshops. People will only get to participate in one this year. In the past it's been 2. And then we're going to come together after the workshop again and do the consultation to talk about what women would like us to do in the future, and also how we can extend our reach to as many women as possible.
Fantastic. I can just tell by looking at you just how passionate you are, because you can see the passion in what you do and what you say, which I think is brilliant.
It's an absolutely super group, and I mean I've been around in it for all these years as well, and I get a lot out of it. Wilma, as do all the women.
Thank you ever so much for coming along and taking the time to talk to us. So the details are going to be on the website now for how you can contact the local international women's group, and I'm sure that you'd love to hear from them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, great. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, you're very welcome. Take care now. Bye-bye.
I'm delighted to have Bernadette Malone in the studio today. Bernadette is Chief Executive of Perth and Kinross Council. Bernadette, welcome to Perthshire Online TV.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
So, Bernadette, people know you as the Chief Exec of Perth and Kinross Council, but tell us a little bit about the background of, I mean, what was your career to date to take you to this role?
Perhaps a strange route, but I completed a psychology degree at Dundee University, and then I undertook a teaching degree. and my ambition was to be an educational psychologist.
Right.
But my career path followed a different route, and I ended up in local government in 1990, first working for Tayside Regional Council. And my first job was as a community planning officer working in Whitfield in Dundee as part of the regeneration programme. I left Tayside Region, went on to Clackmannan District Council, and then I joined Perth and Kinross Council in 1996.
Fantastic. Well, you know, it's a really meaty role. I think you must get home sometimes at the end of the week and feel like you've got Perth and Kinross and Perthshire on your the weight of it on your shoulders to some extent. So, you know, what motivated you to actually move into the chief exec role? What were the motivations and what was the want for that?
I've always been committed to service to the public, and public service is a big driver for me, and the opportunity to make a difference. Before I went into formal education, I undertook a lot of voluntary work in the communities where I lived, and that voluntary work helped me understand what some of the issues were that obviously faced communities. So going into local government as a career was a natural step for me, and service to the public, making a difference and helping to meet some of the very real challenges that exist in our communities is really what motivates me. And in Perth and Kinross Council we've got a fantastic team of staff, and we work very closely with our politicians, and I think that combination of teamwork and commitment to making a difference means that our organisation is pretty successful in what it does.
So it was the right role for you, and it was the right organisation to some extent to make that role comfortable for you.
I think so. I mean, I didn't set out to be the chief executive of Perth and Kinross Council, or indeed any council, but the people I worked with and the politicians I worked with were very good at nurturing talent, very good at giving people the opportunities to show how they could contribute to the work of the organisation, and I was giving those opportunities. I benefited from the support that I was given from colleagues and politicians, and when the job of chief executive came up, I was encouraged to consider applying for that. I did, and the rest, as they say, is history, I guess.
So if you look back from, say, 20 years ago as a woman in business, how do you think things have changed generally over that time? Because, you know, people change, attitudes change, time changes. I mean, my goodness, we'd never have thought that maybe 5 years ago or so we'd be running around with, you know, liking postings on social media channels and things like that. So what do you think is the key things that have changed from an attitude or skills required or just generally as a woman in there in business now? And what's a kind of, you know, this public sector you're in, but it's a corporate environment, really, to some extent. I
mean, I guess it's a more supportive environment, because I think it's more acceptable now that women will be in senior positions in comparison to 20 years ago. 20 years ago, local government in particular was quite a male environment. The leadership was mainly male. You didn't see women in senior positions. They weren't visible. And even 9 years ago, when I became the chief executive, I was only the third female chief executive to be appointed out of 32 chief executives in councils in Scotland. Now there are 12. But many of those have just been appointed in the last couple of years. So we're still only about a third, just over a third of the total number of chief executives. But nevertheless, we are more visible. And that has changed. And I do think the environment is more supportive than it was 20 years ago. I still think there's more work to do, though, in terms of women being able to progress through careers in local government. We still have the majority of our employees who are female in lower paid grades, although we have far many more women in managerial grades than before. And
do you think there's been a change with regards to the expectation of a woman working in business? And for example, when you get to a certain level in, say, senior management, is there the expectation there now that realistically, well, you should by default you should be going for the top job?
I don't think there's necessarily that kind of expectation either amongst individual women themselves or on others, but the environment is more supportive. The environment's more supportive in terms of the family-friendly policies that we have and the encouragement. And I mean, I guess I could only talk for Perth and Kinross the gender aspects of people and their contributions is actually more invisible now. It is about the person. It is about their potential.
Right,
it's about
yeah.
their skills. It's about their contribution, about their track record. And we have a very strong team ethos. So what we try to do is encourage and nurture talent and encourage individuals who've demonstrated that they have real potential, regardless of their sex.
So if you looked at your role as chief exec and the industry sector that you're in, what do you think is about the top 3 to 5 attributes or skills that you need to have?
I've been asked this question lots of times when I've been talking to various groups, and at the risk of upsetting my male colleagues, I do think that women put in a tremendous amount of effort, right, in my experience. I think there's still something about women needing to prove themselves or believing that they need to improve themselves, so they work tremendously hard. Now, my male colleagues obviously do too, but I think it's part of, women think about themselves. It's about they have to prove themselves. They've got to work extraordinarily hard. You need to be pretty tenacious. To be a woman in a job like this, you need to be pretty thick-skinned, pretty determined, pretty tenacious. But important qualities around, and I think women are very skilled at this, around a kind of consensual style of leadership. Trying to include people, make sure that everybody's on board, working with people to build kind of build consensus around delivering common goals. And I certainly see that amongst many of my female colleagues. And that's not to say that my male colleagues aren't skilled at that, because they are. They're just a fantastic bunch. But still a sense of women feeling that they have to improve, they have to prove themselves, and take on lots of work to show that they can do it, they can deliver.
So I'm going to ask a really cheeky question. How do you rate yourself and some of those skills and attributes in the job?
I mean, I think I'm pretty determined. I mean, I think you would expect me to say that. I mean, when I set out 9 years ago, working with our politicians and our officers, I mean, what we wanted to do was affect cultural change in the organisation and move the organisation from where it was in 2003 to where we wanted it to be in 2012. And you have to be pretty determined to be able to, help affect that kind of change and help lead the organisation through difficult times. So I am pretty determined and pretty tenacious individual. I guess I still want to do everything yesterday. Do you know what I mean? The pace of change and the drive in terms of having high expectations of things happening very quickly. I mean, I guess maybe that's something that I need to reflect on. But yes, it's very much about leadership. It's very much about being determined. It's very much about being thick-skinned. But importantly, it is about being able to motivate people, motivate people to work together in a common purpose, and that is about making a difference for people.
And a good strength is your motivation skills.
Motivation is absolutely key. People often ask me, what do you do? And of course, my responsibilities are about delivering outcomes for people. But what I do, it's about leadership, it's about motivating, it's about enthusing people, it's about inspiring them, and it's about creating the space to allow people to do their very best. That's what I do.
Great. So if we talk to Bernadette Malone at this point in time over her career, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you've had in your career? Maybe an attitude or a person or a project, or have you ever? Is there one? Do you think
the biggest challenge, without a doubt, is to lead the cultural change within the organisation, because that's about transforming a whole organisation, and nobody does that. No one person does that. That is about the team, and we're very fortunate in that we get clear political direction from our elected members, from the council, and we're able to interpret that, interpret their wishes, interpret their priorities, and deliver for the communities of Perth and Kinross. I guess if I was to identify one particular challenge, it is maybe in the area of protecting children, because that's obviously a high profile, very important priority in this organisation. And what we've been able to do is to move the organisation, but also to move the public sector agencies in Perth and Kinross and the voluntary sector to a position where we now have very high performing services and practices in protecting children. That's taken a long time. It's taken a long time, but it's been a huge challenge. But we've been able to deliver that because of the quality of the staff and their commitment to protecting children. But also we've had support from our elected members who have supported us in the journey, who've provided resources when we needed it, and they've understood the importance of, at times, how colleagues respond to those challenges and some of the very complex judgments that people are making about children's lives.
So if we move away from challenge, what would be the career success that, you know, everybody has that wee smile to themselves every now and then, Bernadette, it was through life and you kind of go, God, I did that really well, you know. What would be the career we highlight that you think about?
I mean, I guess I'm a people person, right? And I do absolutely believe that the key to any successful organisation is having staff who are motivated, who understand their job and are absolutely committed to what they're doing. And I guess for me, the fact that staff are motivated, that they feel good about working for the organisation, that they feel that they're making a contribution, and that they are satisfied with what they do. And for me, that's maybe the most important thing for me, because at the end of the day, we are responsible for delivering outcomes and being able to deliver positive outcomes, whether it's for children or elderly people who need care, or whether it's tackling the economic challenges. If we have a motivated and committed workforce who are happy to come in every morning, who are enthusiastic about coming in, who know that they're making a difference, who feel valued, we're celebrating their success, then for me, that's the most important thing for me. And that then motivates me in turn.
Yeah, it's a self-improving cycle to some extent, isn't it? So, Chief Exec, great role, Chief Exec of Perth and Kinross Council, but, you know, Bernadette, everybody always has that dream of there's going to be that phone call from someone to offer some new position. So, is there anything that you can share as to, if you were to move on, if you wanted to move on, who would the phone call be from, and what would the dream job be?
I've got the dream job. I have the dream job. I have a real sense of positive pride in being the Chief Executive of Perth and Kinross. It has been a fantastic 9 years. I don't know where the 9 years has gone, but it's been the most amazing experience of my life. And it's just the best job in the world. It genuinely is. I spoke to staff about, a couple of years ago, I was making a presentation. I don't know if you remember the individual who won the competition to be the caretaker of a South Pacific island.
Yes,
do you remember? It was absolute ideal paradise. Absolute paradise. And it said in the best job in the world in the headlines. And I said to staff, no, I have the best job in the world. I've always had a hankering, though, to be an artist. In my spare time, when I get time, I do some sketching, painting. Pretty amateurish. Very amateurish, actually. But if I ever had time, that's what I would like to do.
That would be the ideal situation.
Yeah.
Bernadette, thank you for your time today, and thank you for coming into the studio, and we hope to see you again soon. But maybe on a parting question, a burning question I've got to ask: any news on city status?
Unfortunately, no, and no indication of the timescale yet when we will get an announcement. So we're all a bit on tenterhooks at the moment, but we're still feeling very positive and hopeful that we will be successful.
And it's a busy year for Perth and Perthshire, full stop.
Indeed. We have the local government elections on the 3rd of May, so that will obviously be an important event in our calendar. We have a really exciting programme of events for the Diamond Jubilee weekend. And of course, last week it was announced that Her Majesty is going to visit Perth, so that's fantastic time.
Busy agenda.
Fantastic time.
Well, listen, and always a busy diary for you as well all the time. We thank you for your time, for coming into the studio, and hope to see you again soon.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank you.
Now, to get anywhere in life, you need a bit of a driving force, whether that's business, home life, or organisation, or what have you. Usually that's one person who's like the power head of it, and they kind of make things happen. I've got one such lady in the studio here from Cutting Edge Theatre, Suzanne Loftus, who is the director of Cutting Edge Theatre. So, who are you, what are you, and who do you hope to be?
Very good questions, actually, and ones that we look at constantly. I guess I'm Suzanne, and to say I'm artistic director of Cutting Edge Theatre sounds very grand, but there's me and there's board of directors, really, and we bring in people per project, and everything that I do, or everything that the company does, puts its name to, is all about making a difference, and that's primarily what we do, and that could be anything from primary school work to fully fledged professional tours, and everything in between.
So when did your creativity start? Have you always been in drama?
Well, my mother and father would probably say yes. I was very dramatic as a child, always very dramatic. But I was that archetypal, really shy teenager, and you know, terribly, terribly shy, until somebody took me when I was 15 to a youth theatre, and I will never forget that first night. Suddenly I went, I fit. And I'm accepted here. And that for me was where it all came together and all began. Then I wanted to be an actor, but I was rubbish, absolutely hopeless. And my parents said, get a job. So I worked for a long time until an opportunity arose for me to quit my job and set up the theatre company.
So what was the opportunity that made you go from one thing to doing your dream, setting up the theatre company?
Well, it was a bit of a mix of things, actually. A very life-changing moment for me was becoming a Christian, and so that started to make me really become aware of things and wanting to make a difference. But I'm not really talented in any other way apart from theatre. So
you're good at telling people what to do?
I'm good at telling people what to do. Yes, they don't always listen, but I'm good at telling them what to do. But that is really what was on my heart, was I want to make a difference in this world. I believe that's what we're here to do. But how do I do that, or how do we do that using theatre?
And you do that through theatre. So 17 years ago, what was your first production?
Oh, gosh. Well, no, the first production 17 years ago would be a musical, is Blood Red, and I wrote it as a play, which is, we've now turned it into a very large musical, which if somebody's got £250,000 and want to help us get that done, we'll do it.
Okay, great.
But that was the first one. But when I first fell into directing was because my drama teacher didn't want to direct. And so there was a choice when I was 17. I want to act in this play, but he's not going to direct it, so we can either not do the play or I'll direct it. So I kind of fell into it, really.
Now, Cutting Edge Theatre is also very well known for the projects it does for social reasons as well. And can you just give us an example of 3 or 4 of those?
Yeah, well, I think we always say that we work on different things. So we work through the different ages. So our kind of young people, secondary school, would be the issue-based drama. So we have a play called Dare to Hope, which is about suicide for young people. And we want to work on teenage pregnancy, self-harm and image for girls. Those would be our next issues.
Can I volunteer for the overweight one?
I'm not doing an overweight one. We're all lovely
Us
as we
fatties
are.
unite!
No, we are lovely as we are, and that's the thing, you know. But image for girls, actually, sorry, you're not a girl, but it's a huge thing in this country, which actually leads to depression, self-harm and suicide. So, you know, those are the issues we want to do. And then if you go up a level, then we go to community theatre, where we do the passion plays. We do a lot of work. Those are open-air promenade community pieces telling the story of Jesus, primarily, but I have done history of Brechin and things like that. We've done lots of things. And then we've got Overseas, which is the COTS project, which is taking creativity to children who are outcasts. And then we have musical theatre. What do the classes as an outcast in other countries? Do you know, it can be anything. It can be the kids are gypsies. It can be that they, in Africa, Tanzania I think it is, the albino children are outcast there. Yeah, and actually still, I heard a story that actually they're considered good luck charms, so people will murder these children and cut off their limbs as good luck charms, and you can get paid a lot of money for that.
There's lots in the news as well, the Middle Eastern countries who have what we would call special needs children who are just tied to a cot,
Absolutely,
basically.
Just left, abandoned because they're not seen as a person of having any worth. And for me and for Cutting Edge, that's what we see, is we believe that every single human being has worth, whether it's the prisons work that I'm doing in America, or whether it's children in Africa or children here, or somebody who's just outcast for some reason. Is everybody has worth and that everybody has potential, and that's what Cutting Edge is.
Excuse me, let me just wind you back a minute. Prison work in America.
Oh yes.
Prison work in America. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, it's one of the passion plays actually. It's the most bizarre project, I guess. I'm going to help direct a passion play in a state penitentiary in Louisiana, where all the inmates are there for life. And this is one of the many projects, but a project that they're going to do.
I know we have touched on that in another programme. There's another programme people can look out for where we talk about that in more depth. One thing we didn't cover there, and I meant to mention, we should talk about now, is that how all the different faiths have come together and how they're all tackling the Passion Play, as it's basically a Christian story.
Yeah.
How does that work?
And it's fascinating because, you know, it was a huge eye-opener for me, as were many things in that prison. But to actually go into a drama group within a prison that's going to put on the play about Jesus, and to find within that group Christians, people who don't believe in God at all, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, you know, all those people together, and they're all doing a play about Jesus. And I can't think of, somebody is bound to correct me for sure, but I can't think of a UK project that does that. I can't. Yeah. And why not? Why can we not? Why are we so divisive and so against each other in that? And yeah, there are differences, and there will always be places where we don't agree. But you know, ultimately, it's about us getting together and you know, they're putting a story about Jesus on. They didn't have a problem with it. Why do we?
Yes. Well, so you're a very successful woman in many ways, and success doesn't necessarily mean financial success.
I wish.
You wish. But I mean, your energy and your power makes things happen.
Absolutely.
What's in you that drives you to do this?
Passion.
I know you passion.
Absolute passion and absolutely desire to make a difference. That is it.
And that comes from your creativity. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the British schools and that, they're having cutbacks, and that it's hitting music, drama, artists. What's your opinion of that?
I think it's crazy, absolutely crazy, because people think of those as the soft arts, and music and drama, and actually what do? They don't do anything. Yeah. But actually, without creativity, we've got no invention, and with so many things attached to creativity, and that if you take away creativity from people, first of all, they will stagnate and die. Society needs that. But also, we will become, what we are becoming, a risk-averse society, in that the next generation are scared to take risks, and they won't take risks, they won't invent, they won't create. And, you know, what does that do for society?
And that's such a shame in Scotland, particularly as well, because the inventors and the creativity that's come out of Scotland, if that's starting getting affected now in the schools with the creativity and the outlet for creativity not being picked up on, that's obviously going to affect Scotland and Great Britain in the future.
Yes, absolutely. People need a space to dream, and that's what creativity does. It allows you that space to dream and to give you permission to dream the craziest dream, and to think, you know what, I would love to do this. I'm working with a group of people just now who are, it's not the correct term, but special needs, young adults in this country. And today I was doing a session with them saying, what do you wish people knew about you? So these are people who've got Downs, with cerebral palsy, lots of different syndromes that we've never heard of. What do you wish people knew about you? And that was fascinating. But also, what do you wish for in life? You know, and that is incredible. That nobody ever asks them that. What do you wish? What does somebody who, you know, we would look at as perhaps an outcast and Downs, but we don't think that they've got any wishes or dreams. But creativity allows them to dream, and their dreams were amazing. You know, it was fabulous.
And also, technology is fantastic. I mean, you can't take that away. Yeah. But you also said an interesting thing to me when we was chatting earlier on about, you've asked a group of youngsters, what would you rather have? And you can continue this story. Would you rather have new gadgets or more time with your parents?
It's a survey that was done last year. Actually, we didn't do the survey. I think it was a government survey, and it was asking young people in the lead up to Christmas, what would you rather have, gadgets or time with your parents? More time with your parents. And the summary that came out was that actually what they were wanting was more time with their parents.
So what do you think about this thing? I mean, obviously drama is very important for creativity, but that's a big difference between fame and the X Factor, etc., etc. When people are being creative and in drama and that, I mean, that is a vocation, etc. It's not, I want to be a star, I want bedazzling, I want this, that and the other. What's your interpretation of that?
I think the difference is that when you want to create, it's you're creating something either with people or it's primarily for other people. The thing about the whole fame culture we have, it's about me. I want to be famous for me and for what I can get out of it. But I don't work that way. No. It's all about,
that's obvious,
how does it work for you and for other people? What can I do to change or make your life better and to make a difference in your world. In my world, I live here.
And knowing what I know about cutting edge theatre, that is doing that. I mean, with all the different projects, I don't know how you do it. It's amazing. So I know you're going off to America soon. You're going to be doing the ones in the prisons there. What other long-term projects or what wishes do you want to fulfil?
Yeah, kind of. It's interesting because this is a bit of a year where I'm stopping a little bit and going, well, where do I want to go from here, and what do I want to do? And are we going to just specialise in one thing, or are we going to keep doing the multiple projects? And I think what is becoming very obvious is community theatre is my speciality and where I'm strongest. But I will always want to make a difference, and will always be seeking. So I guess going back a little bit, this project that I'm working in Carnegie College with the students who've got special needs, that's something that actually I would really like to develop that work further and to see, you know what, is there a way that we could bring community cast together with these people and create an integrated community? Now there are groups of people doing that. But what can we do with that? Is there something we can do with that? And also, actually, one of the things I do with them is to teach them voice work and confidence skills. So, you know, half of these people, it's interesting, they're 18, 19, all their lives they will have been bullied at school and treated as outcasts. And so half of them can't look you in the eye, they won't speak above a whisper. And if I can get alongside them and encourage them to give you eye contact, to be able to say their name confidently, then do you know what? We've made a difference in their life.
Do you not think a little bit of that maybe down to our culture at the moment by sitting kids in front of the TV and the computers, that they've not got these same skills communicating to each other?
Yeah. No, I don't think they have. I don't think they know how to communicate to each other, and I think that's, you know, that's something that we're going to suffer from in future unless we redress balance. So, you know, the more, and there are a lot of theatre companies in Scotland and the UK who are out there doing great work, and you know, we need funding, so the government needs to keep funding those projects.
And it's short-sighted to think that this is not important. It's
Hugely.
very important for Scotland, Great Britain in general, all over. And if anybody's got any advice or wants to get in touch with you or wants to help you or anything like that, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, easily through the website, cuttingedgetheatre.co.uk. You'll easily find us.
Well, listen, lots of good luck for the future.
Thank
and
you.
I know you're really changing lots of people's lives in many different ways.
We try.
Thanks a lot, Chuck.
Thank
and
you.
Thanks for coming on the show, for
Thanks
inspiring us all.
Thank you.
Now, it's very interesting for us to focus on international business people and the successes that they produce, not just for this country but for overseas, and also, of course, for charity work as well, notably someone like Bill Gates. But what very often we don't do is focus on the people that live with them, work with them, and are in fact their life partners. And today we're very privileged to have the wife of a very well-known businessman in this country, and of course a very well-known charity supporter as well, and that would be Betty Souter. Welcome.
Thank you.
Of course, Betty, for those of you who didn't realise, is the wife of Sir Brian Souter, recently Sir Brian Souter.
Yes, that's correct.
So what was that like?
That was really, really good. It was very memorable, a very memorable day. It was a family day. We brought some of our children down. In fact, we all went, but only some. There were only 3 of the children were allowed, you know, into the palace, and the other ones stayed outside. And we picked him up and all went for lunch afterwards. But it was a very family day, and we were all very pleased and very proud of Brian.
So what was the process of you finding out about it?
Well, Brian had got a letter through saying that his name had gone forward, and wondering whether he would accept this knighthood, to which he was delighted to accept. And following that, we got information through. It was all very sort of top secret, and nobody had to be told, but we had got a letter through saying that you know, like his date was going to be in such and such a day, and how many tickets did he want. And he got, I think we automatically got 2 tickets. It was Brian and a partner and 2 other tickets. And we've got 4 children, so we had to put all the names into a hat because everybody wanted to be there.
Yeah, of course.
So we put the names into a hat, and in fact, the 2 oldest boys thought it was a fix because they didn't happen to be in the room at the time, and they thought we had fixed it. But anyway, Brian managed to get an extra ticket, and that was 3 of our children had the privilege of going down to the palace and seeing their dad getting a night. Nerve-wracking when you arrive. It wasn't nervous before it, but I mean, then you have to get a sort of suit. You've got to get the appropriate dress. So there's a preparation involved, and all the kids had to get kitted out, or new ties.
Was he nervous?
It was a wee bit. I think it's quite nervous or something, and I had gone and got an outfit, so it was a good excuse. So there was a lot of sort of pre-ramble excitement going on, and then we all went down to London. 2 of us missed a flight, so there was just the normal day-to-day excitement and events. We actually all got there, had a lovely, just a relaxing night, got up early in the morning, and the first surprise was that Brian had said he would provide transport. He was going to provide a stagecoach and horses, and the children refused to get in it if he did, because they didn't want to draw attention to themselves. Oh. So an old vintage Rolls Royce turned up, and we were all squashed in it. We could hardly... There was hardly room for us all. So that was all part and parcel of the excitement of the day.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I suppose, yes, he's probably one of the most successful businessmen in the country, in Scotland, in the whole of the UK. But obviously it's not always been like that. You both had to work really hard to make that business a success. So you've probably seen Brian go through all kinds of different things over the years to get there. There must have been major milestones for you. And how's that been? What's your supportive role like? Is that just there to listen to what he's got to say about it, to support him, to advise him, or just let him get on with what he wants to do and then you support him by looking after the family?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, there have been pretty large milestones along the road, and obviously we have to discuss the implications of that on the family. And, well, if he's away doing something or caught up doing something of his time up, then there's less time to be around at home and involved with the day-to-day living. So obviously it's a big decision, and it's a family decision that has to be taken. So, I mean, he would discuss it with me, and if I'm okay with it, then he would go ahead. If I'm not okay with it, I don't know what he would do. We haven't had that situation
So you've always been okay with it up to now, then?
We've always been okay, because it's always made sense, it's always been rational and logical in the next step and the next move. And I mean, he is a very family orientated person, so he always makes sure that he's around as much as he can, and he's at home at weekends, and helps with the day-to-day running of the home and the children. But yeah, there have been, he does come back and he does bounce ideas. He likes to talk about what he's doing, his ideas, and it helps him, I think, in his mind, really just trying to come to terms with what he should be doing next. And it bounces things off me, but ultimately he's the one that makes the decision whether he thinks. He's always got a gut feeling about what the next step should be, what the next stage should be, which is probably why he's so successful, because he knows the business inside out, and he sort of knows, where the next big challenge is going to be. But he likes a challenge, and there's always, throughout our marriage, there's always been something else and something big, and a big opportunity is coming up, and he enjoys that challenge, and I think he really needs that challenge.
How do you relax?
Well, I mean, I relax. I love to read. I mean, when Brian's away, then I get good opportunity at night in bed, when the kids are in their bed, to sort of relax and read. Obviously, if Brian's away, then you've got to be. It's getting less heavy now that the children, some of them are at university, they're away from home. So I've only got 2 at home just now. So, but in the early days, it was a lot. It was busy, and you were just, the only way you relaxed, Julie, was when you were in your bed sleeping.
I'm very familiar with that.
It was hard going.
So now you get time to make for yourself. So reading. What kind of books do you like?
I like crime.
Right. Patricia Cornwell, that kind of thing.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah. That's interesting. So, 1992, you and Brian decided to open up the Souter Charitable Foundation. So what, I know it sounds like an obvious question, but what led you to want to do that?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to, I mean, both of us attend a church, and both of us are committed Christians, and we've always given a tenth of our money into the church. That's what we're told to do. So when the money started coming in, then we wanted to sort of spread it around and look for good causes, and people do write into you, and different charities wrote in, and at that point we thought, well, this is a good opportunity to sort of, look at causes, look at charities, and, if we can help in some way. We always see the sort of monetary side. The money in itself isn't as important to Brian as the challenge.
Yes.
As the money. So it was always about, we are stewardships of this money. We feel that God has entrusted us with this, and if we can do some good with it, then albeit. So
that's a very good way of looking at it as well. So are there a range of charities that you support? Or do you support them on their own merits?
No, there's a whole range. There are 3 trustees. My background's social work, so I'm interested in that side of things. There's a teacher, so she's interested in education, and Brian's probably interested in sort of church-based charities.
Okay. Is this mainly in Africa, or is it worldwide?
Worldwide.
Worldwide. So what's the latest thing you got involved in?
The latest thing we got involved, well, we support Mary's Meals. We support, we're involved in Swaziland, like a feeding programme.
Mary's Meals, what's that?
Mary's Meals is a charity, it's a Catholic-based charity, and they get into all the different countries, Africa, different countries, and they sort of give food to children and support. So it's quite a big charity, and the person who heads it up has got some awards recently, so he's getting acknowledged for the work and the growth that's been put into that charity. So what we feel that we like to get involved or put our money, we don't put our money to buildings, we prefer to put it to, like if it's a sort of life or death situation, children starving, needing help, we like to sort of get involved in that type of.
And of course, you're both still based in Perth, which is where Brian was brought up. Is that where you were brought up as well?
No, I was brought up in Glasgow. I'm a city girl.
Well, only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Away. But it's good that he's remained true to his roots, because so many people that become successful businessmen, businesswomen, they obviously get the fruits of their labour and then move somewhere else. So it's good that he's actually stayed where he is.
He's probably one of the few business people that have actually stayed and remain true to his roots, because we mix with a lot of business people and a lot of them are expats, but Brian is at home paying his taxes, which are substantial.
Yeah, of course.
But because he believes that that he loves Scotland, he loves Perth, and this is where we choose to live and want to be part of that community.
Exactly. So you both have a passion for Scotland. You both have a religion for your spiritual and your religious lives as well. Are there any particular ambitions that you've personally got for the next 2 or 3 years that you want to achieve that you've not quite achieved yet?
I don't really think I'm the type of person that has big ambitions. Especially with 4 children, when they were younger, it was a case of just getting from day to day as opposed to looking forward or planning ahead. But I'm involved in various things. I'm involved in the charity. At some point, I would like to be able to actually go and visit some of the charities that we support in Africa and different parts of the country. I would like to do that and just be freer with my time to be able to do that sort of thing. I think, given my social work background, I would find that very enjoyable.
Now, you're going to be taking part soon in the International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Now, from a woman's perspective, what do business women and women generally, what should they be looking to achieve from that? Where should it be taking them in terms of, is there still a great amount of inequality for women around the world? Is that your perception? Is those kind of organisations there to help and promote women get a better deal, really?
Well, I think it is. I think there are still a lot of opportunities out there for women. I don't know that, we talk about equal opportunities. I think women are very able people. I think I joke with my children that women are the only ones that can multitask. Men can't multitask.
Yeah, well, that's pretty true.
But because if you've got children and you juggle things, I think you're more prone to be able to do a few things at the one time. I don't think a women's law is always easy. I think it is very difficult for women to make it. I think either in the business world or elsewhere, people still, even if you're just a housewife and you're dealing with workmen, I think people still see a woman, it's just a woman, whereas they would give more credibility if it was a man. So I think there are still a lot of challenges out there for women. But I'm under no illusion that women won't, make it and fight through the barriers. And you know, and what really is part of my charity hat is we're involved with a charity called Stop the Traffic, and there's so many women just now who are actually being trafficked. And just in the newspaper the other day, there were women in Dundee who were being sold as slaves and, you know, drug addicts. And you think, you don't expect that in this country. You maybe expect some of the Eastern Bloc countries, but not over here. And yet it's everywhere. And I think even as a mother, you just think, what is happening? And, you know, some of these girls are getting taken into this situation, and they're worth so much more, and their lives are worth so much more.
That's incredibly worthwhile, because these women tend to be, in many cases, minor drug users to begin with, or they're in a desperate situation, get introduced to drugs, and once they are complete addicts, then these men usually can do with them what they want.
But I think they lie to them to get them into the country in the first place. They promise them a good job, you know, a different life. They promise them all the things that they are really sort of looking for or hopeful of, and then they get here and they're sort of shut in a squalor flat or whatever. So I think that's happening here and now, and there's so many obstacles, I think, and barriers just to sort of try and get through. And so we're still not where we want to be, I think, as women. I think there's still a lot more opportunities for us, and a fight out there for us to sort of take.
What I really like about you is you are so grounded, because there are women that become part of a relationship that becomes incredibly successful. They've contributed to it, and then at a certain point they think, well, actually, I've got everything that I need now. I don't really want to be bothered with that. You're still grounded at every level. You can think about people that are in that situation and want to work to help them, and that's actually, I think, is that part of your spirituality? Is that part of your faith that keeps you grounded?
I think it is. I think it's a part of my faith, and it's also a part of I think it is a large part of my faith, in that you don't see yourself as being any better than anybody else. I mean, everybody thinks the same in God's sight. I mean, I'm no better than anybody else. So yeah, I think that's probably the foundation that you know, keeps us grounded. And I would say Brian's the same. I mean, people meet Brian and think, oh, he's just an ordinary, I don't know who they expect, but we're still very hands-on with our children. We still work in the church. We still, you know, get our sleeves rolled up and make the tea and get involved like everybody else. We don't see ourselves as being any better than anybody else.
Well, are you technically Lady Souter now?
Yeah, technically.
Well,
technically.
Lady Souter, it's been an absolute pleasure for you to come in. Well, a pleasure for you to, probably wasn't a pleasure for you to come in. It's an absolute pleasure for you to come in and meet with us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll be seeing more of you in the future.
Thank you.
I'm delighted today to be joined by Jackie Waring. Jackie is involved in a new enterprise called Women's Enterprise Scotland, which is being launched on the 5th of March. Jackie, welcome to the show.
Hello, Gavin. Thank you very much for having me.
Jackie, give us a little bit of a background to you in business. What's your career today?
Right. Okay, well, I'm currently Managing Director of a company called Blue Horizons Scotland Limited, which I've been running for 9 years now, and obviously just about to launch Women's Enterprise Scotland, of which I'm one of the founding directors. But prior to that, I had 10 years Chief Executive of an organisation called Gordon Enterprise Trust in the northeast of Scotland, which was all about helping businesses to set up and grow and develop.
Right.
And that's where my, you know, interest and passion for supporting women entrepreneurs has come from.
So tell us a little bit about Women's Enterprise Scotland. It's been launched on the 5th of March.
Yes.
Great initiative.
Yes.
What was the inspiration to that then, and what's the services that WES will be providing?
Yes. Well, the inspiration really came from, I mean, there are several people involved. I can perhaps tell you a little bit about them in a minute. But the inspiration came from work that initially I started through the Enterprise Trust, where we looked at research in Scotland, and this is going back quite a number of years now, and looked at statistics on women entrepreneurs. And although in the northeast of Scotland we were seeing quite healthy start-up figures, what we weren't seeing quite so much of was growth amongst women-owned businesses, and that started a piece of research, a very large piece of research, quite a number of years ago. And from there has been much research that's been done internationally. And when I set up Blue Horizons, also with my colleague Jackie Brereton, who is the co-founding director of Women's Enterprise Scotland, we were both invited to become policy advisors to the UK government on women's enterprise, and we focused on different areas, and I certainly looked at access to finance that, as a key issue for many women entrepreneurs. And basically much of that work had greater application in England than it did in Scotland.
Right.
So now that we're in the happy position to be able to set up Women's Enterprise Scotland as a community interest company, you know, we were passionate to try to take those opportunities for women entrepreneurs into Scotland.
Fantastic. So you mentioned your co-founding colleague, Jackie.
Yes.
Who else is involved in Women's Enterprise Scotland?
Well, we're very fortunate to have Professor Sarah Carter, who's the Professor of Entrepreneurship at the Hunter Centre of Entrepreneurship at Strathclyde University, because Sarah's internationally renowned for her research, and it's a real coup for us to have her on our board. And equally, we have a lady called Bonnie Clark, who is the Director of Scotland for Badenoch and Clark, who are the world's largest recruitment and headhunters specialist organisation. And with her connections out into the business community is a very powerful individual for us to have on our board. And we have Elaine Roger, who is the number 2 at Glasgow Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And she has an extensive background in women's enterprise herself. She used to be the number 2 actually at the Well Park Centre for Women Entrepreneurs in Glasgow, and has many years of being involved in women's enterprise initiatives. And then the other director that we have, who's an advisor at the moment actually because of the geography, is based in the USA, and this is Julie Weeks. And Julie is a previous advisor to administration in the United States on women's enterprise, and she's one of the world's most renowned researchers and well known for her work internationally. And we feel that having that international dimension to what we're doing, particularly on the research level, is particularly important.
Fantastic. So a great breadth and depth of experience.
Absolutely. And not forgetting, and I mustn't forget, Rachel Hanretty, who is our wonderful intern, who's been doing some terrific work and a lot of hard work in helping us build up to the launch as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, as well as the Women's Enterprise Scotland launch on the 5th, there's also the launch of the RBS-sponsored Women in Business Index, is that right?
Correct,
Can you give us a little bit of a background to that?
Absolutely. Well, you know, firstly, great thanks to Royal Bank of Scotland for backing us to do this, because one of the issues that we have with women's enterprise in Scotland, and in fact really in the UK, is a lack of gender disaggregated data. Now, this might sound very unexciting, but you can't measure what you don't count, and one of the issues for not being able to actually track how well women entrepreneurs are doing in the UK is the fact that it's been difficult to get this data. So recognising this, Royal Bank of Scotland have backed us at Women's Enterprise Scotland to create an index, and we aim to engage with at least 10% of the women-owned business population in Scotland over time. And we have the sponsorship support also from the Hunter Centre of Entrepreneurship, so that this will be a proper academic research that is undertaken over a number of years. So we'll actually track the progress of how women in business are doing in Scotland, and right down to financial performance, looking at the key issues, looking at the areas of need, and how those can be best supported. And the results from this research will actually be fed into government and key decision makers to help develop strategy and policy for women's enterprise in Scotland.
Super.
And there will be another level that index will operate at, where we're not asking everybody to give us all their detail about their business. We're really just looking for people to register through the website, register interest, and any woman in business can register there. And at its simplest level, we'll just be asking for their opinions on things that would make a difference to them in business.
That's fantastic. So before you go, Jackie, I've got to ask one cheeky question. Do you think women-led businesses are more effective than male-led businesses?
Oh, well, I'm not going to get into an argument on that one, but we do have some fantastic statistics that are very recent. This is all within the last year, to show that 2/3 of women-owned businesses in the UK are planning growth in the next 2 to 3 years, and I think that would defy many perceptions out there, particularly during a recession. And also the innovation levels are high amongst women-owned businesses. And we're talking about not just about innovating new products, but also about service and how services are delivered. And more than half of the women who were surveyed in this government-sponsored research at the end of 2010 had actually innovated in their products and services in the previous 12 months. And I think the other key statistic, which again maybe blows some of the myths, is that when access to finance is one of the key issues for all business at the moment, as we all know, but women-owned businesses that have made an approach for external funding have in fact been more successful than other businesses, mixed ownership or male-owned businesses. And this has got a lot to do with the level of preparedness before going in there, and a very much an openness to taking advice from professionals before making an approach. So actually, when the approach is made, it's more successful.
Great. Jackie, thank you for taking the time to pop in and see us today.
Well, thank you very much.
And all the best with to you and the team with Women's Enterprise Scotland. And please pop back in and give us a little update in a couple of months' time.
We'd love to. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Gavin.
So we hope you enjoyed this week's show.
And we always want to hear from you. We want to hear the Perthshire news and stories. So please contact us via email, Twitter or Facebook. We'll see you next week.